The events on the Eastern Front during World War II would dramatically change after Soviet innovations in tank warfare, which enabled them to decisively defeat the once feared German panzer divisions through the implementation of T-34 tanks in mass quantities. Before the development of such strategy, the traditional role for most tanks were as infantry support vehicles that served as artillery pieces. January 1943. The Red Army abandons its ineffective pre-war tank doctrines and starts to create tank armies that utilize the Soviet T-34 main battle tank on the front lines in mass concentrations, as opposed to its previous role as an infantry support vehicle. The T-34 epitomized the Soviet war machine and effectively assisted, if not directly affected, Soviet counteroffensives all over the Eastern Front. Its military capability was so prominent, in fact, the German Field Marshal Paul von Kleist called it nothing short of the finest tank in the world. Such praise was most probably due to its numerous advantages over its German counterpart, the Panzer IV.
Panzerkampf and Wagenfall. Crew 5. Weight 20 tons. Armament 17.5 centimeters KWK. 2 7.92mm machine guns. Armor 10mm to 80mm. Speed 26 miles per hour. Range 120 miles. Soviet T-34. Crew 4. Weight 27.8 tons. Armament 176.2mm gun, 2 7.62mm machine guns. Armor 45mm front, side and rear, 20mm roof and floor. Speed 33 miles per hour. Range 190 miles.
In comparison to the Panzer IV, the T-34 was both easier and cheaper to produce, allowing it to overwhelm German forces through sheer numbers. It was also better able to traverse difficult terrain, giving it a significant advantage over German tanks in harsh Russian conditions.
July 1943. After a Soviet victory in Stalingrad, the Red Army pushes further west, determined to undermine German incursions on Russian territory, as portrayed by a Soviet propaganda poster which states, "To the west," while a Soviet soldier destroys a German "to the east" sign. The Germans, still smarting over their defeat at Stalingrad, decide to mount a major armored blitzkrieg offensive in the Kursk salient, triggering the largest clash of enemy armor in World War II, the Battle of Kursk. The immense size of the Battle of Kursk can perhaps be best portrayed by the words of a Soviet lieutenant named Ivan Sagwin that experienced it firsthand. He said,
"All of a sudden, such a huge noise started, it deafens all who stand. The earth trembles far more than if there were a massive earthquake."
In the Battle of Kursk, the Germans aimed their forces at both the northern and southern flanks of the Kursk salient, so as to encircle Soviet troops inside the Bulge. The Soviets, however, anticipating this type of strategy, constructed intricate series of defensive lines that incorporated minefields, pre-sighted artillery fire zones, and concealed anti-tank strongpoints that slowed, redirected, and exhausted German panzer spearheads, so as to effectively undermine any chance of a successful German blitzkrieg. The northern flank was the first to attack on July 7, 1943. Then the southern flank attacked on July 12, 1943.
After the Germans exhausted their troops on both flanks of the Kursk salient, the Red Army executed two major counteroffensives, Operation Kutuzov and Operation Rumyantsev. On July 12, 1943, the Soviets executed Operation Kutuzov near the northern flank of the Kursk salient, which resulted in the recovery of the Soviet city of Orel on August 5th. Operation Rumyantsev was initiated on August 3, 1943, and yielded both the city of Belgorod on August 5th and the city of Kharkov on August 23rd to Soviet forces. Both operations were Soviet victories.
The Battle of Kursk as a whole not only displayed the failure of German blitzkrieg, but also reflected Soviet superiority in armored warfare. In a letter to Joseph Stalin, Grigory Zhukov, a major Soviet military officer, portrays effective utilization of Soviet armor when he says,
It would be better to make the enemy exhaust himself against our defenses and knock out his tanks, and then bringing up fresh reserves to go over the general offensive, which would finally finish off his main force.
The resulting Soviet victory in the Battle of Kursk gave the Soviets both their first successful summer counteroffensive as well as strategic initiative on the Eastern Front. In this respect, it is safe to say that Soviet innovations in tank warfare were major factors in not only changing the tide of war on the Eastern Front, but also in effecting German defeat at the hands of the Soviets from this point on in the war.